gotta say, I just came back from a good weekend of gigs, and on the way, I was actually listening to a fellow retainer's live stream, which was the Shaved Lion King. Shout out to you, Darius. You're a real inspirational, and I actually look up to you as a bit of a mentor in the semen retention community. So it's great to have people like that about inspiring young people and young adults like myself as well. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a presentation today about how semen retention actually puts you into harmonic frequency alignment. Okay, so we got to think about a few things as to what that actually means. Like, what does harmonic frequency alignment? Okay, so let's start off with the idea of harmony. So, harmony is in music, harmony is when two notes of different frequencies come together and they create like a certain sound, a certain feeling. So, for example, there are things called perfect intervals in music where there's one frequency and it's matched with another one, and that is usually basically it's perfect because it is mathematically doubled or it's part of like a certain fraction that makes it perfect. And to your ear, it sounds very natural. It sounds uh, just stillness. It sounds like stillness in harmony. Whereas when you start adding things like minor or major sounds, that's when you start changing the frequency of the harmony in order to create a different vibration or a different feeling, right? So let's say if it's a minor sound, the harmony frequency would give you a feeling of sadness, darkness, introspection, maybe stuff like that. Whereas, if it was a major sound, the harmonic frequency would give you like a feeling of joy, triumph, and nature, maybe love, and power, I guess, all that kind of stuff as well, light, yeah. And then there's some other uh, intervals as well that can actually cause some different things. Like, for example, augmented means to be, push dissonant, whereas diminished means to make things kind of feel constricted and tight. Okay, so that's basically a quick rundown of what harmony is. We don't need to go into musical terms much anymore, but harmony is the relation between two frequencies. And how this relates to semen retention is when you're on semen retention, instantly you're going to become out of harmony with the outside world because the outside world isn't practicing semen retention. The majority of the outside world, I should say. And part of this means that you're not going to be in harmony with the majority of the world. When you become in harmony with the majority of the world, what you have to do is you have to do what the majority of the world do. You have to operate the same as what they do. So this might be, for example, eating meat. This might be drinking milk. This might be watching reality TV. This might be engaging in pointless arguments on social media. This might be gossiping about friends. This might be having kind of shallow relationships with people. This might be sticking around with friends that you've known since high school and all that kind of stuff. Hey, aura farming Mickey. Yes, I am Australian. So that is what the natural kind of worldly harmony is, right? Everyone has that kind of that that baseline level of harmony. And this is what I would call, I guess, let's just call it the NPC level. I know it's an overused term, but NPC means non-player character. Um, and like I know it can come across as egotistical to use like a word like NPC, but at the end of the day, it's the easiest way I can put it without saying something purely offensive. So when you practice semen retention, you are instantly transitioning out of a non-player character. So let's say non-player character operates at, let's just use some random number. Let's say it's 666 hertz, okay? So that's what like the non-player character operates at. When the semen starts rising up through your spine and going through your brain and stuff like that, which takes time. Everyone's body is different. I'm not going to tell you how long it takes, okay? I'm on, I'm coming up to 90 days right now. If you guys are new to my channel, I have had a long streak of 15 months on semen retention, and that streak ended this year, but right now I'm on 80 something days and approaching 90 days real soon. And why 90 days is an important amount of days on semen retention is because actually what happens is you start to get like a maturation of your sperm. Jax is back. Hey mate, how you going? Hope you're having a great time. So that's why it's important to kind of keep track of where you're at with your semen retention kind of journey and like how long your streak has been going for, and to understand where maybe like biologically you are developing and evolving. Because put an example like this. If you were playing sport and someone had weak muscles on your team and someone else had strong muscles on your team, the chances are the person with the strong muscles and the fitness and all that kind of stuff is going to be very, very useful on the team. Whereas the person that is weak is not going to be useful. So already you have a disharmony within the team. And as you guys know, it doesn't matter about like if you're a famous person or if you know you're a young player. There are so many examples of professional sports teams that go championship kind of level because it's just a bunch of fit, motivated people that have a shared vision for something, right? So that is where harmonic frequency alignment comes into semen retention. And why it's important to semen retention is that you actually get to the point where you can start to amplify and create a feedback energy loop that actually manifests what you want quicker. So if the whole team wants to manifest a win and they're all on the same kind of level of semen retention, trust me guys, they're already above the NPC level. They're already, fitter, and they're not weak because they have their muscles, they have their vigor, they have their strength. So they have the ability to amplify that vision and manifest a win. And that's why harmonic frequency alignment is so important on semen retention. So, okay, yeah, cool, Matt Carsley. I might just block you, bro. Yeah, cool. So what I was going to do is start talking about some other things in relation to harmonic frequency alignment. So as I mentioned at the start of this stream, is I basically got off another stream. I was watching the Shaved Lion King, and he's another semen retention streamer. So shout out to Shaved Lion King. You guys should check his channel out if you're new to semen retention. He's definitely an inspiring guy to watch his videos. This guy's been practicing over 4 years of semen retention, and trust me guys, he's got the glow, he's got gains, he's got all this kind of stuff. Brandy Sims, thank you so much for the comment. God loves you too. God loves everyone, even if they're not on semen retention. But at the end of the day, the people that don't practice semen retention aren't going to feel the full love that God can give them, because God does reward the people who will go on semen retention. And the people that do continuously relapse with the awareness that they're doing sinful things, they are going to be servants of Satan, and they're going to feel the wrath, they're going to feel the pain, they're going to do all this sort of stuff. And a lot of people when they are on this kind of like atheist kind of satanistic kind of lifestyle, they actually start to become angry at God. And I actually had a mate who I'm no longer friends with because I can't be bothered with dealing with these kind of narrow-minded people. He grew up in like a kind of Catholic school environment, and what happened is that his grandfather was dying, which is a very natural thing. Old people actually die. I'm sorry to let you guys know, but your grandparents is going to die, your parents are going to die, and you're going to die as well. So it's just a natural part of life. And as his grandpa was dying, he prayed to God to save his grandpa from dying. Here's the thing, guys, you can't pray to God to change the laws of nature, okay? So what happened is that when his grandpa died, he decided he was atheist and he hates God. And that to me is an indication of a fool. So as much I've tried to kind of tell him that you should just allow things to be as they are and forgive God in that kind of sense. That's what it is. So let's get back onto the topic of harmonic frequency alignment. So here's your journey. You start off as the NPC, and then the NPC is part of like a major kind of, or let's call it like a grid or a program. So it's part of a program. The program is quite simple. It's go to kindergarten, go to school, go to high school, go to university or TAFE, get a kind of qualification, get a full-time job, work for a boss, maybe work your way up through the ranks, get a little bit of a retirement fund, get a mortgage, get a family, get kids, struggle a little bit, and then one day when you finally retire, you can do what you want, okay? That's what the program is. The program isn't go out there and do what you want, which I would call your calling. Your calling is what God is trying to tell you this is what you should be doing because you feel it internally. Like me, when I realized that I wanted to be a musician, it was quite simple. I just had this kind of light bulb moment when I was like 12. And then by the fifth time I was 15, I knew that I was going to be a musician no matter what. I was like, there's no turning back now. So, that was half of my life ago. So the other half of my life, I have been a musician as a full-time calling. And right now I am in a career musician mode. So there's a difference between a career and a calling. A calling is what you actually want to do and what you should be doing to provide to the external world, whereas the career is just what earns the money. And if you can combine your calling with your career, then you have made it, my friend. You have made it. It doesn't matter how much money you're making, as long as you're surviving. If you are doing your calling, you're going to get more opportunities, much more internal in fulfillment as well. And again, this goes back to harmonic frequency alignment on semen retention. So what happens is when you are on your calling, what's going to happen is you're going to get this kind of energy around you that you start to attract and repel people that are going to, maybe not be in alignment with your frequency. So, for example, me being a musician, I realized I was no longer compatible with the guys that I used to play in high school with. I was like way beyond them in terms of commitment and talent goes. And it was just kind of like a waste of time for me to play with them. It's like kind of like having a teenager play with a kindergarten kid. It's like you're not going to really relate. They don't have the same sort of wisdom. They don't have the same sort of development. It's not in alignment. It's not in a frequency, okay? And then when I started to become a full-time musician, I was practicing semen retention. So that's how I started to manifest all those things. And as I went through that, I weeded out all those old energies. I pruned off all those dead branches that weren't bearing any fruit. And I removed all the parasites that were sucking the life out of me. And when I did that, my body started to heal itself. I started to get the glow. My skin cleared up. I lost weight. I started to feel lighter, all this kind of stuff. And what happened was I eventually started to draw people in with my natural energy that were in alignment with me. And this is good because what I find is that I'm attracting more kind of younger people in my life. Younger people tend to have more energy, hope, optimism. They have the neuroplasticity in their brain where they're able to change and get with the new programs, rather than be calcified and stuck in these old programs that, these old paradigms. It's like an example when you see your parents watching the TV and you're watching them watch the TV and you're like, are you seriously believing this? So that's what the whole kind of like semen retention journey will do for you. You're going to get onto this new program, and the program's going to continue to change, and you're going to evolve very fast. I'm telling you guys, you won't know how quick things are going to change until you start going on these long streaks. So that's what the whole kind of idea of semen retention is it's an evolutionary process, and you're going to have to say goodbye to a lot of things. You're going to have to say goodbye to lifestyle habits, friends, locations, all this kind of stuff. All right, I'm going to read some comments, and then we'll get back into this. Yeah, so Brandy Sims says, you're either going to go to heaven or you're going to die in hell. It's true. And I also hold the belief that when it comes to heaven and hell, they are also kind of dimensions or frequencies that we can live on. So, for example, at the start of this live stream, I said NPCs live on the 666 hertz frequency. And if you just think about that as 666 hertz, I'm using that as a symbol as like Satanism and atheism and stuff like that. So it's a low frequency compared to a person on semen retention that has the glow, that has the chrism oil, that has the activated pineal gland. I'm going to, just as for an example, I'm going to put them on 528 kilohertz frequency. That's what the SR practitioner is. They're the enlightened one, the one with the glow, the awakened third eye, all this kind of stuff. So when they are on that frequency, they're actually on the heaven frequency. Whereas the people that don't practice semen retention, they're on the hell frequency. So how do you think they're going to work together? They're not going to work together. They're not going to work together, guys. Like, if you're kind of young, I know this is a cliche saying, but at the end of the day, you are always going to be the byproduct or the sum of the people that you hang around. So make sure you hang around people that are of an elevated vibration rather than a low vibration. PS5 player said, hi, hey mate, how you going? Hope you're having a great time. So I'm going to speak a little bit more about this harmonic frequency alignment and how it really works in a team setting, okay? I want to drive this point home. Right. So I'm going to use an example of the Beatles. So in the Beatles, I don't know if they were retainers. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But for all useful purposes and all that kind of stuff, let's just say that Paul McCartney and John Lennon were retainers, okay? I don't even know if they were, because to be honest, when you do your deep dives in the music industry, there's a lot of corruption there, but let's use them as an example, okay? They shared a vision and basically learnt other ethnicities and other cultures, practices, and created an amalgamation of their knowledge and created music through, I guess you could say, different worldly influences, okay? And what they did is they had this very short 7-year period of time where they released a shit ton of music, guys. You guys, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the Beatles were only around for like 7 years of recording music. Like, it's crazy. Whereas you have some of these bands that are still around for like 25 years and they've only released like 5 albums and stuff. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you've got that harmonic frequency alignment, if you've got a team of people that are sharing a vision and they are practicing the same way, you will evolve very quickly. You will create change very quickly. You'll create disruptions very quickly. Some people might take it a little bit of a shock to their system. That's what the whole awakening process is going to be like. When you're going through an awakening, you're going to feel the different surges of energy. You're going to feel the emotional releases, all the trauma that maybe hasn't been addressed within your body. That's going to be released. You're going to feel some certain things. You're going to have thoughts that you haven't thought of for a very long time. So this is very kind of like advanced stuff later on in your semen retention journey. But if you can stay on that, you're going to clear up a lot of the mess in your life. And I can't think of anything better for a man than to just keep himself at a positive mental state. So when you can find people like that that are actually practicing this, well, you're starting to win. I'm starting to see, just doing these live streams and doing these videos on YouTube, I'm starting to attract people that have the same level of spiritual development. Because that's the beauty of social media, is that we can actually find people that are on the same frequency and that are of the same kind of level of development. Whereas on, your local community, the chances are the person that did practice that is either dead or they're hiding away, because out of the population of where you live, the chances are there's only going to be maybe one other person that is doing this at the same time as you. Because, like, for example, me, if I find a partner that I think is worthy of having kids and being my wife and stuff like that, I will, finish my semen retention journey. And then I'll go back on it after I've had kids or whatever. But everyone's going to go through cycles of being on semen retention and being off. But there's never going to be a lot of people doing semen retention at the same time, because the number is already so minute. The number is less than 1%. The number is less than 0.1%. I would even argue the number is less than 0.01% of males are practicing semen retention. And I'm talking about fully grown males. Kids, they're not part of the discussion. They're not qualified for this, okay? All right, so yes, CM Sia 2007 says, very hard to find someone on the same path outside of social media. And that's so true. And that's why I think, like, people talk about social media, oh, it's such a bad thing. It's like, actually, it's a tool. Money is a tool. Guitar is a tool. My voice is a tool. This pen is a tool. At the end of the day, you can use this pen to stab someone in the eye, or you could use this pen to write a love letter to, the love of your life. Or you could use that guitar to sing a song about hope and, bringing, insights to the world. Or you could use that guitar to sing a song about how you're gonna get laid tonight and how you're gonna, how you're upset that this girl at the club is going away with some other dude, and, I'm Mr. Brightside. It's like, oh, shut up. Like, shut up, bro. It's so cringe. When you wake up, you start to listen to all this music that you used to listen to when you were a teenager and when you were a young adult, and you start to realize that all this music, all this movies, all this media was a way of programming you into a Kuma mindset. Now, what is a Kuma? A Kuma is a guy that ejaculates a lot. What do a lot of men do when they don't get luck at the club? The men either go to the hookers, they go to the strip club, or they go home and jack one off. I mean, come on, man. That's just like cringe, man. I never went to a hookers ever in my life. Never went to the strip club or anything like that. But I'm not going to sit here and say, as a modern man, I never went on the hub, because that would be a lie, okay? But at the end of the day, this whole thing we need to have more men come to the forefront on social media and put it out there. I actually put it out there on my personal Instagram account. I gave a little hint at it. I showed a little screenshot of my YouTube channel, so even people in my peers and my friends could see what I'm doing with the semen retention kind of thing, right? To the point where people I know went to a party, and then at that party, some people were talking about how I have this channel. And look, if they think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, that's okay. But one day it's going to hit them. They're going to be old and crusty, living in a hole, and then they'll think, hang on, why does Stephen still look so good at his age, yet I look like a depleted, saggy, old sock, like, It is what it is. So I think I might actually end it there. This has been a little fun stream. Make sure you watch the replay of this stream if you missed the first part. But to summarize harmonic frequency alignment, basically it's basically when on semen retention, you're raising your frequency, and as a result, you are dissociating from the NPC frequency. So we call the NPC frequency 666 hertz, for example, okay? And then we're heading towards what I call the 528 kilohertz, because 528 hertz is actually what they call the miracle tone, which is a healing tone in frequency. But to make the point, 528 kilohertz is way beyond 666 hertz. So the point is that when you go on semen retention, much C Messiah 2007, Brandy Sim for coming in, PS5 player, Aura Farming Mickey for coming in as well. Jax is back. Have a great week, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.